Good morning, welcome to the Market Wrap number 120, 30th of September 2022. Stuart Williamson here at the helm. As ever, we do this to share research and information that we've looked up, that we find is newsworthy for the market, and we think that property investors like ourselves may find useful. Okay, please do like, subscribe, help us spread the good word. This week, will there be a housing crash in 2022? The latest Zoopla report gives us the good news. We all appreciate the housing market is set to slow down later this year. It's still running at 10% at the moment, growth, as there'll be fewer sales and house price growth is generally easing. But buyer demand is still tracking in line with last year, so it's still high, and the market is proving way more resilient than a lot of these naysayers believed in the face of economic headwinds. And the Zoopla research bears that out. They don't see a crash on the horizon. Now, why not? There's been a huge amount of change since COVID first kicked off. The pandemic opened up the housing landscape in the UK, and it's given us all a greater choice of where we live, highlighted our relationships with our homes, and altered our reasons for moving. Plus, the housing market is in a very different position to the last time we saw house prices fall, which is after the global financial crisis in 2008. So let's take a look at what Zoopla says has changed in the last few years and why they believe, their view, that there won't be a housing crash. Okay, number one, house prices aren't as overvalued as they were in previous economic cycles. Richard O'Donnell, who's the head of research there, I believe, says house prices tend to fall when they get too high and out of kilter with incomes. Now, in 2008, it went hand in hand, that happening, with more relaxed mortgage lending. If you recollect, back in those days, you didn't need to prove actually what you did earn. You could just say this is what you earned. And a third of people taking out mortgages at that time didn't prove it. Okay, a fifth of them were getting mortgages with less than 10% deposit. And I know because I did that myself. This led to house prices shooting up, and then when the mortgages dried up and the economy went into recession, house prices fell back. And they fell by about 18%, I think. And it took, in some areas, 2 years to recover. In some areas like Leeds, for example, I think it's still some parts of it with negative equity. So the difference now is that that there's much tougher rules to get a mortgage. You have to prove your income and your outgoings, and people normally have much greater than 10% deposit, so they're less vulnerable to positive and negative equity. That's a crucial point. Mr. O'Donnell says, in short, we don't have a scale of overvaluation of housing that we've seen before, and this puts the market in a much better position to weather high mortgage rates and the increased cost of living. The market's not immune to these pressures, and some people are already feeling the squeeze, and we do get that. But all this stuff in the papers, in the press, on the internet about the end is nigh is greatly exaggerated, I think. It's a case of, I said last week, keep calm and carry on. Mr. O'Donnell says the likelihood of big price falls is much lower than in the past. Secondly, house price growth has spread across the country. Again, if you look at historically, you'll see London and the South East were always the biggest gainers. They did super well, and the rest of us were pretty sad. Now we've got the South West, Wales and the Midlands also seeing double-digit house price growth. With high demand in new areas, the value of housing has started evening up right across the country. In fact, the average UK home has risen by £48 a day since February 2020. That's equivalent to £38,000, which actually is why a lot of people are getting into property. You make more money from property than you can do from earning in some instances, because the average wage is £32,000 in the UK. When you've seen your house price go up, it's an incentive to sell. Many people want to release equity and take the chance to upgrade their home. More people want to move because of the pandemic. In a recent survey, Zoopla found that 22% of people were more keen to move house since the pandemic. Only 6% were keen to stay put. Of existing homeowners, 19% were eager to move because of the pandemic. Now, these figures might not sound very high, but when only 4 to 6% of owner-occupiers on average move house each year, it's a huge amount. It's much larger than the average. But is this just a short-lived post-lockdown thing? According to Mr. O'Donnell, no. The data suggests that attitudinal changes have matured. They're both more considered and more embedded within households. And when you have buyers with their mind set on a move, the market will keep moving upwards. So it's a change of attitude. Think of all these committed buyers have already made a move. Do you think that's the case? Everyone must have done all the moving, haven't they? Apparently not. According to Zoopla, only 1 in 17 privately owned properties changed hands in 2021, which means there's plenty more people who want to move who haven't yet taken the plunge. That is quite an amazing figure, 1 in 17. Number 3, hybrid working is here to stay. In February 2022, 42% of people surveyed by Zoopla plan to work mostly from home. This is backed up with the same 42% recorded by the Office of National Statistics, which is an increase from 30% in April 2021. That's around 5 million more workers who are now able to work from home when they want. A total of 9.7 million people will be doing that. We've seen a strong trend between home working and a desire to move home, said Mr. O'Donnell. Our consumer survey found that home workers are 5 times more eager to move than those with more traditional patterns. I mean, you would, wouldn't you? You want to have a nice view. You want to have, where you walk out and get a break, from work quite easily. 54% of those who expected to work from home more said they were more eager to move compared to the 13% who expected to do less working from home. So, working from home patterns are a major contributor to demand, and they are pushing forward this house price growth. Okay, it's much more than it was 2 years ago. We had to work from home then, now we don't have to, we have the choice. And Zoopla expect this influence to continue in the years ahead, people taking that choice. Okay, next, first-time buyers are more motivated to get on the ladder. The working from home trend has granted a huge amount of opportunity for first-time buyers. In Zoopla's survey, renters were most keen to move house out of anyone. The figure they quote is 25% of renters said they were more eager to move because of the pandemic. With less of a need to live close to the office, first-time buyers can now look further afield for their home, which is, again, is terrific, for the working population. We've seen a marked increase in the radius of first-time buyers where they're searching since the pandemic. Zoopla say, a first-time buyer in London now considers homes in an area 33% bigger than pre-pandemic. And first-time buyers outside of London have increased their search area by 20%. So this is basic information that's corroborating these statements. It shows that many first-time buyers would rather get on the ladder in a cheaper area using the current savings rather than wait to move into a more expensive place. So they're trying to get on the ladder quicker, which is fundamental to what's happening in the market, shortage of space. Next point, people are still keen to swap city life for country living. It's been one of the biggest talking points about the housing market since the pandemic. Many people want to switch to city for the slower pace and for more space. Last week we talked about boomerang people pushing up the London market. I think that is the case. Zoopla research shows this trend of looking for slower pace and space is more pronounced further on. Back in July, people living in major cities were far more likely to want to move house, 36%, than those in rural areas. Fast forward to now, spring 2022, 44% of city dwellers now want to move. And interestingly, it's also doubled in the rural areas. it's now 8% of people in rural areas want to move. So those people are trying to, go to new places as well. In rural areas, it's typically older homeowners looking to downsize. The influx of demand to rural areas has created more opportunities to relocate closer to family or take equity from their current home. So people are moving into the country, house prices are going up, people who are living there can now relocate as well because they've got more money. Next point, more people are retiring. Almost 500,000 older workers have left the labour market since the pandemic. A huge 63% of adults aged 50 to 70 left their jobs sooner than expected, according to the Office of National Statistics. Leaving work to retire was the most commonly reported reason, 47%, but 15% of retirees said they left because of COVID-19 pandemic. 13% said illness or disability. It's well known that retirement is a common trigger for selling your home. You may wish to be close to family or friends, someone looking to embrace a new lifestyle or indulge in a passion, while others just want to downsize and release some equity. We covered this week before last, how people are actually going back into the workforce because of the cost of living crisis. So I think there's a two-edged sword there. Maybe other reasons to move in retirement, like good public transport or better healthcare, move to those locations, with 75% of older households owning their home outright, according to gov.uk. This group has the means to make a move that suits their lifestyle. They're keeping momentum in the market by offering homes for sale while they're also buying a new place. Okay, next point, rising mortgage rates won't hit existing homeowners too hard, but will prompt some potentially to move. Half of all homeowners have a mortgage, so it's only 50% have a mortgage. The rest own their houses outright. Of homeowners with mortgages, 90% are on fixed rate deals for up to 5 years. Okay, some of those are maturing now, but how many do you think? 2% out of the total market? Many of these people who are on these fixed, on low rates of sub 2%, I come across it all the time with clients who are shocked that they're on 1.5% and it's going to go up to 4%. If they got a mortgage post 2015, then they'd have to have proved to the mortgage company that they can be stress tested up to 7%. This means that many homeowners will be able to absorb all these additional cost pressures on their budget. So these are the salient points. Okay, this is not me being super positive, as I'm often criticized for. These are salient points that we say perhaps it's not going to be as bad as all that, and perhaps the UK housing market is going to have a quiet couple of years, which I think it will, and then it'll start picking back up again, which I think it will. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Do hope you have a good week. Please do share, subscribe if you haven't, and generally take it easy. Thank you very much. Bye bye.